No, we're not. Oh, we are.
Hey, when it's time to stop chasing regrowth and start a new chapter. With that and more, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Hair Wire. Where's our video? There you go. And welcome, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Hair Wire, the place where you, my friends, get hair smart. I'm your host, Sergio Cardona, alongside with Carrie Jarrett, Bisan Dipsy. Ladies, how you doing?
Good, good. I'm a bit cold. Florida is cold. Now, Curtis, she will tell me, like, what? Are you serious now?
Actually, our snow's melting, so where it's supposed to be cold here, it's cold.
What is cold for you?
Cold for us?
It's melting.
Yeah, we had a buttload of snow that we didn't know what to do with. Like, our snowmounds around our cars are over our cars right now, but it's melting just as fast as it came. And normally we have that for like a few months. It's quite bizarre. So we'll shovel like a foot of snow, and then the next day it's all melted. We're like, what the heck?
Wow. Okay.
That's
so what is the temperature now?
Today it's warm, considering.
So what's warm?
Today it is actually 5 degrees. Yeah, this is fall weather for us. Typically around this time it's -18, -20, and that's normal. So it's a 5. Like, we have, if you look up Canadian memes right now, it's so funny. We have a lot of our funny Canadian guys wearing shorts and like talking about summer in Canada.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty funny. I shared one the other day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No.
But it did get to -47 over Christmas. Yeah, it was cold. Yeah, it hurts to even handle. Like, if you go open your front door and you don't have gloves on, it hurts. It's like burning your hands. It's like, ow. Yeah,
no, that's cold. That's cold right there.
And for those that don't know, I'm in northern Alberta, so that's why the extreme weather.
We got Canada, we got Florida, we got Puerto Rico. Here in the island, I mean, it's all year long, beach weather. So you can come visit Puerto Rico here this time of year.
Nice.
And ditch the cold for once.
Nice.
Yes, it's always nice. Always hot. So today we have a very hot topic. Today we're going to be talking about, when is the time to stop chasing new growth and to start a new chapter. And this is about acceptance, and this is about understanding, when has my hair loss when it has gone too far. Is it too far for me right now? Is it something that I can still work on it? What can we do about this? And we have a lot of people viewing our show right now. So, guys, what is it about hair loss that says this is too much, too long? There's nothing else to be done. What can we do? So, first of all, we want to talk about understanding, follicular death. When a follicle has gone dead, when a follicle has become cicatricial, when it has passed that point of no return. So, Biz, I want to turn first to you, our biologist here. So, when has hair loss gone too far?
Okay, so basically, as you said, when we have cicatricial alopecia, mean these hair follicles have been past the vital phase, and they are being dead by now. So it is way better if you started having your hair loss, or you can seeing your hair loss, is to go see a specialist, a dermatologist or a trichologist nearby you before it become dormant. Because as long as you have vital hair follicles, and a trichologist can actually look into your scalp and see and evaluate if your hair follicles are good or vital, still alive. Vital means alive. Even though that hair follicle is not producing hair, the hair follicle itself is still alive underneath the trichoscope. We as trichologists can know that. So if your hair follicles are still vital, yes, we can bring them back to life. However, if they have been way too long that has been not producing hair and underneath the epidermis without any stimulation, then they become cicatricial, or they die basically. And then this is when it is too late to bring the hair back. That's why we always say, whenever you see any signs of hair loss or hair shed, just go to your nearest trichologist and make sure that to look at your scalp, make sure your scalp microbiome is still good, to look for any scalp health problems and address the hair loss very early on.
Definitely. Now, Carrie, I want to ask you, because a lot of people say, well, if this is far too gone for me, and for instance, let's say I'm on finasteride, dutasteride, spironolactone, minoxidil, if this is far too gone and I cannot regain more hair than what I have at this point, let's say, that the hair shedding has stopped and this is what I still have, should I stop medication?
Should I stop medication? First, I want to go back just a little bit because I want to talk about microbiome real quick.
Yes, please.
Yeah, because I find a lot of right now, just because I'm seeing a lot of it, especially in the climate that we're at right now, where I am. I don't know where it is, but with medication and stuff, I want to keep continuing that. But I do want people to be aware of scalp health and the importance of having a healthy scalp, and the microbiome, which I hope, Hassan, you could go a little bit deeper on with this. But even in the salon, we're always looking at people's scalp first with medication, because you have all the medication, you can have all of that too. But if you have a poor scalp condition as well, or poor gut health, that's the first thing I'm going to look at before we even consider changing the medication. So I just want to touch base on that, because right now with scalp health, and especially with the climate changing that's happening where we are, it's like hot, dry, humid, hot, dry, humid. So it's causing a huge recipe for a lot of crazy scalp issues right now with a lot of people, and patchy hair growth patterns. It's insane. So that before we even consider medication, I do want to look at scalp health, because people don't realize how important that is. Then when it comes to the medication, I don't like people quitting cold turkey. I don't know, that's my personal opinion. Just because I find when you do quit cold turkey, you could cause hiccups as well, depending on the type of medication. Sometimes you have to wean it off. Sometimes you have to change it. And if it isn't working, that's when you actually have to do a formal assessment and be like, okay, is it the medication not working? Or is it what I'm doing not working? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. For me personally, if you're dealing with androgenetic alopecia and, your hair shedding has stopped, has gone to the point where you're at equilibrium, if you stop using the medication, you could potentially lose more hair at that point. So I will say, if it's helping you to keep a certain amount of hair, even if it's not what you ideally want for yourself, but it's holding, I would say keep it. Keep the medication because it's doing its job. But for some people, they say, well, it's so far gone for me that, if I lose any more, it won't be much of a difference. So in those cases, I would say, well, if you're not looking to get a hair transplant at that point, then I would say stop the medication, because you're not looking to get more, and you can't lose nothing more that it will be significant. Like for guys particularly, if the only amount of hair that you have is just a fine strip of hair, the best thing that you can do cosmetically, I would say, shave it off and maybe do a scalp micropigmentation in the process to make it look, better. But at that point, hair transplant is not even an option, because it's so far gone, like 75% plus of hair loss. I would say, it's not even good for hair transplant. Biz, you work with a hair transplant surgeon. What's your take on this?
Yeah, so basically, first of all, the hair transplant surgeon should first identify the area where he or she is working at, because if there is still a viable hair follicles where the area is, like the thinning area, actually they can revive it without transplanting hair over there. This is number one. Number two, also, whenever the hair, whenever you transplant a hair follicle, you make sure that it is viable enough, strong enough to transplant it to a proper place. So depending on where you get it from. Some hair transplant surgeons, as you were saying, they move hairs from here, and these hairs are weak. Actually, they don't necessarily survive. The best area to take it is from there. And we always said that on the show. We think the optimum way to do a hair transplant is to have a trichologist on site, because the trichologist first can actually help with the hair regrowth, see if any viable hair follicles, and then make sure to stop the hair loss so we won't lose it further. And then the hair transplant will be the last solution. The hair transplant should be your last resort, not your first resort. And also, depending on the age, as you said, Sergio, some people like having a lot of prescription medication, and they will tell me, oh, I lost everything, so it doesn't matter for me anymore. There's a lot of people who lost a lot of hair, and it has been like a while for them. So they already have a crucial alopecia, means the hair follicles are already dead. Then yes, they can go right away to do a hair transplant. But evaluation is very, very important in the beginning, because if you are a male in your like 30s or 40s, probably you have 20-30% of your hair follicles are still viable, even though they are not producing hair. So a qualified trichologist can bring 20% or 30% out of your hair without even doing a hair transplant. And the hair transplant, we know it's way more expensive than bringing your hair back. Of course, it will take longer. It's a longer process, but it is actually way safer than a hair transplant in a way. And it's way more natural. And then you keep the hair transplant at the end, not at the beginning. That's your last result.
Definitely. Now, we started talking basically about androgenetic alopecia, but how about telogen effluvium? We see this particularly with patients with chronic telogen effluvium, and they get confused on whether it is worthy, is it still worthy to still pursue new growth? Is still a viable thing for me? And, of course, a lot of people, they need that extra care, and they need to go visit someone to have a set of eyes and someone who at least knows enough to say, well, this is viable, this is not viable. Unfortunately, we see a lot of people that, they miss a lot of opportunities because they believe that there's no turning back for them, when in fact they still are, viable candidates for treatment. Not just for hair transplant. I'm talking about treatments before you even consider hair transplant. Now, Carrie, you're nodding. I want to give you the heads up. So, what would you say to our people, who are considering or thinking about, it's too late for me, and it's not androgenetic alopecia, it's about telogen effluvium. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I see this often. I see, well, first comment, like we were talking before we got on, is a lot of people are trying to do everything and put it all in the kitchen sink, and they're not following one plan, and they don't have one strategy for them. So, for example, we were talking about one person, and they went and got information from their dermatologist, a trichologist online, and ChatGPT. And, you have everybody going in there and giving their opinion. And the thing is with dermatology, there's a lot of dermatologists who specialize in trichology and have as much training as many of the trichologists that we know. But then there are some who only study it for a short period and don't have that vast knowledge, because dermatology is the study of the skin. So unless they go and add in the study of hair. Now, with trichology, it's not regulated right now. And that's why at the Hair Wire over at the Faculty of Trichology is we are trying to regulate that and get people more informed and understand that trichology, you could call yourself a quote unquote trichologist in a 2-day course, or you could go for years and do study, or you could do internships and learn and study. And I know some that know more than the people who went to school for 2 years. So we're trying to regulate that. So when you're getting people and giving all of their answers based on what they know from all the different hair clubs, hair organizations, everybody's going to have a different answer because it's not regulated.
Right.
Nobody is working together. So you also have to discern truth from fact, like truth from fiction, nonfiction to fiction. And so for that being said, like with understanding who to listen to, you also have to understand who is knowledgeable. Do a background check on the person. See what kind of knowledge they have. How involved are they in the industry? Are they only recommending the same service every single time and not telling you that there's more than one treatment or more than one option? Like, I have a very recognized hair expert here in my area who does the same service on the same people every single time and tells them no matter what, if it's telogen effluvium or genetic alopecia, it's the same thing, same treatment. I'm sorry, it's not a one size fits all world. There's more than one treatment. And we're all different. And the fact is more than the times that I have done assessments, I've seen more than one type of hair loss happening at the same time. So we have different treatments. And then you have people not educating the client to say that they are going to take time to do stuff. So they right away see them. They don't even do the microscope. They literally go and say, oh, you have this. And then they give them the treatment and send them home. They don't tell them why, how long it's going to take, what expectations to have. They don't celebrate the wins. They don't know what to do next. None of that. But if you have somebody who really knows what they're going to do or what's doing, they're going to give you a treatment plan. They're going to be realistic. They're going to give you options. They're going to tell you what to expect. They're going to tell you to celebrate those wins. And one of the first biggest wins, which we can have as a trichologist, I don't know about you, but my first win is stopping that hair loss.
100%.
Yes.
And then creating the plan. So I could give you all the treatments to help hair grow. I'm definitely very skilled at that. That is my business. I help growth. I'm a hair growth coach. But if I'm not stopping the hair growth or hair loss from happening, there's no point in that growth.
Right.
Right?
Definitely.
So when it comes to that, it's having a clear plan and knowing expectations that you're not going to get hair growth within 3 months. The fact of the matter, it takes 100 days for the hair to actually even foster, not even to show results after it's gone through the skin. And then it takes about 1/4 of an inch per month for it to grow on the average person. So you're not even going to see results for at least usually on the average, 30 to 90 days plus. So when I have a client come with me, I'm telling them I'm with them for the next year, minimum a year. And I tell them what to expect. And I help them celebrate those wins.
Right.
I love it what you said, Carrie, because all of those things that you mentioned, they're the result of years of training and continuous education. And that's something that for a lot of us in the industry, if you're a general public, right, and you're trying to identify a good trichologist, a good doctor who understands hair loss, you want to make sure that that person is someone who is on continuous education on hair loss, because you see a lot of doctors, they go to different education programs. Yes, but how many times a year are you going into education on hair loss, particularly hair loss? Now, for us, the trichologists, we go on education like 5-6 times a year. There's so many seminars out there. There's so many opportunities for us to stay up to date on the latest. And trichology is a science that evolves continuously. So being on the cutting edge means, that we are constantly investing on our education. And we, the Hair Wire, we are providing top education to our trichologists. So definitely something that for everyone who's out there, to our professional peers, if you guys are watching, stay connected. We have our next seminar with the Sun. It's going to be a live seminar on the Hair Wire. So stay connected. We're going to be announcing the date very soon. Do we have a set date for that particular?
I think it's next Monday. It's next Monday before our live here.
Exactly. So next Monday we will have our live for our peers on the Hair Wire. Yeah. So make sure you hit the Hair Wire, subscribe, and stay connected with us. But again, it's all about who is educated enough to understand what's happening with our patients, because there's a lot of confusion. Like Carrie, you were mentioning, this person went to a trichologist, went to a dermatologist, went to an online trichologist, went to ChatGPT, and tried to figure out what was happening. And, unfortunately, we see different views and they're not, combining themselves together. And one of the things that we know in this industry is that whenever we talk about hair loss, it always comes in 3, 4, or 5. And what that means is that, it's not a single subject. It's not just telogen effluvium. Sometimes it's telogen effluvium and androgenetic alopecia. With a combination, partially mainly be seborrheic dermatitis, with maybe a combination with hypotrichia. Sometimes most cases are so complex that we need to understand that it's not just one thing. It's many things happening simultaneously. And whenever we are treating hair loss, if I'm treating the androgenetic alopecia but not treating the telogen effluvium, I'm falling short on my treatment and not able to get a full, complete result for my patient. So that is why, unfortunately, a lot of people get frustrated when they are treating their hair loss, because they are only addressing one single area of their process, but not being holistic about it, not understanding all of the aspects that are concerning their hair loss. For instance, this week, there was a post from our friend, the hair medic, Ian Salas.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, great post. You can say it's basically an article, and what he was saying is that a lot of people, they spend a lot of money addressing their hair loss from the outside, right? And it's not bad, but it's not a complete solution, because hair loss is not a thing of just hair falling out. Why is the hair falling out? Because the skin has released the hair. So we have to address the things that are happening on the skin. So what's happening on the skin is not just on the surface. It's things like hormones. It's things like nutritional deficiencies. It's things like stress. A lot of things that are causing and driving the follicle to release the hair. So whenever we are just trying to use serums, shampoos, conditioners, and things to treat hair loss, we're only doing it halfway. Some people may see some difference afterwards, after they try a shampoo. We talked about the placebo effect many times here. But if you saw a great result, with a cosmetic product, that's okay, that's fine. But you have to consider how mild might have been what you were experiencing, and the timing when you started using the product, because sometimes if you're talking about a very mild telogen effluvium, very mild, and you start using treatment about 100 days after you started your telogen effluvium, probably that telogen effluvium was about to go out anyways. So it's about to resolve itself, and you just happen to use a shampoo in that particular moment. What are the odds? But it happens, because it's not until we realize that something is happening to our hair that that we start looking for solutions and start looking for ways to address it. Now, life after regrowth. What can we do after we cannot grow any more hair? What are the options for our people out there? I know that a lot of people are looking for scalp micropigmentation. Others might look for hair transplant. We were talking about that. But how about prosthetics, hair pieces, and things of that nature? What can we say about
First, before I go to prosthetics or all of that, SMP or hair transplants, I will go first address the internal protocol. Yes. When you go to a trichologist, and as you were saying, that hair loss is multifactorial, it is from inside and outside at the same time. So after you identify the root cause of your hair loss, great. This is where you, when you address that root cause, this is why you have hair regrowth or your hair loss just stopped. However, this hair regrowth needs to be babied, needs to be like taken care of. So if you stop your internal protocol and go back to your normal habits, for example, bad sleep, if that was your problem, or diet changes, or go back to eating junk food and all of that, and then bringing back your body into inflammation state and oxidative stress, that will cause hair loss eventually. All the baby hairs that you're growing, it's going to go back, you're going to lose them again. So first of all, if you are succeeding with an internal protocol, you need to keep it, because that is addressing your root cause. And of course, not only keep it and be just happy with it for the rest of your life, every 3 months or every 6 months, whatever your budget allows, you'd redo the blood test and reassess your internal protocol. Because also when we do an internal protocol is actually two parts of it, supplements and diet change. So the diet change will be probably the best that addresses the inflammation or oxidative stress. So if it was a little bit too excessive in the beginning or too strict, probably your trichologist can adjust it for you to be a little bit more easier on you, but still giving you the good results that you need, or making the inflammation making sure that the inflammation doesn't come back. But we're talking about the second part of it, which is the supplements. Taking supplements for the rest of your life is not a good thing, because it will tax on your liver. Therefore, whenever you do an internal protocol, or your trichologist is doing an internal protocol with you, in 3 or 6 months, redo the blood test, see where you are at. If you had a vitamin D deficiency and now you don't have a vitamin D deficiency anymore, so it's better that to stop your vitamin D or take a maintenance dose rather than take a high dose. If you started with a high dose, let's for example. So readjusting or reassessing your supplements, reassessing your diet protocol, reassessing your lifestyle factors every 3 to 6 months is a must. Not only for your hair, to maintain your hair regrowth, also for your optimal health. Because we know if your health is going down the drain, your hair loss is going to be the first one to suffer. So that is, I would say, that is the first thing to do, is make sure your internal protocol is optimized all the time. Now, when it comes to external protocols. Now, after the hair regrowth, of course, you don't need to keep your external protocol going, but you need to adjust that depending on the amount of hair regrowth you have. Let us say you have a lot of baby hairs going. So you want to baby these hairs. You want to make sure that they're having enough nutrients. They want to make sure that you are not pulling on them. You are not having any traction alopecia. You're not combing them like heavily or like snapping them or so forth. So making sure you keep these baby hairs and give them the nutrients they need, that's number one. Number two, also, I suggest that people should go check their scalp twice a year. Like you check your teeth twice a year, make sure that you don't have cavities. Same thing. You make sure you go to your trichologist for a scalp analysis again. Make sure the scalp microbiome is still good. Make sure the scalp microbiome is still balanced, because changes from the weather, whether hot or cold or seasons or allergies, or all of that will affect your scalp microbiome health. So you want to make sure that your scalp microbiome is always good, because any alteration in the scalp microbiome, well, guess what? It's going to affect the baby hairs that you spent a lot of time, effort, and money to bring them back. So before we go to final solutions like aesthetics or scalp micropigmentation or hair transplant, you need to address all of these things. That's why working with a trichologist that is knowing what they do is very important. Like you were saying, just tell to your point, Sergio, asking ChatGPT or going from this person to this person to this person, everybody is going to give you a different perspective. Research one trichologist, trust that trichologist, and keep working with them all the time, because they're already familiar with your internal protocol. They're already familiar with scalp microbiome. They're already familiar with the texture of your hair, and they can help you gradually. Remember, hair regrowth is not sudden. It doesn't come sudden. One thing at a time. And yes, and finally, before I finish, cosmetic solutions. Cosmetic solutions are very, very important, but I am not the one to talk about that. I will ask Carrie to talk about that.
Yes, when it comes to cosmetic solutions, like when there's no more other options, when you don't want to do the transplants or the prosthetics, and for those, the prosthetics, that includes any of your toppers or your 3M hair extensions, all of that. But with cosmetics, if you have a very skilled hair artist or master stylist, they know how to do cuts that work for you. I know a lot of times we go into the salon, there's a lot of cookie cutter in salons right now. And I'm sorry, I'm throwing it out there, but I've been cutting hair for over 20 years. And it's not about the artist anymore. It's about the cookie cutter pattern that everybody wants to follow. I remember when I trained under some artists where we learned to do, reading the hair to see how it falls. You don't cut the pattern on the hair because everybody's scalp is shaped differently. It's going to be thicker, thinner, it has going to be more dense, less dense. And you could use that to your advantage and manipulate and make a haircut and make it look thicker and fuller. For example, I had a young gentleman in the other day and he had very an advanced receding hairline here, and he kept wanting to keep the hair long there. And I said, well, actually, if we shorten it and manipulate the cut and cut into it and shape it to the shape of your head, we will make it look thicker and fuller. And I said, you don't need to do all these fibers and this and that. We just need to change your cut. And so I changed the cut, and he couldn't believe the difference on how much thicker it looked because we used illusion to make it look thicker than it actually was. And a skilled stylist will know how to do that. You could also use color. A lot of people are afraid to use color. And yes, there's a bad source of doing color, but if you have a very skilled colorist, they will know how to use color for correction as well. For example, if I have a client who has balayage and the color affects the bond of the hair to make it more look zigzagged, that bond is broken. And so you could go in there and manipulate that bond for it to look straight, thicker, fuller, and even add density to the hair. You change the structure of the hair. So understanding color chemistry as well is also going to help that. So if you have a very skilled stylist and your hair is very thin, find a stylist that actually knows how to use and manipulate color tones, cutting techniques. You can make your hair look thicker and fuller, even if you don't have the hair. There's actually one, I got to find the video. There's one video, he literally has no hair on the top of the head. And he did this overcomb. And I know an overcomb, it's crazy. You're just like, what? No, this hair barber, I don't know what he does, but he's a mad scientist when it comes to cutting. He is so skilled, but he has a way to make the hair look thick, full, and like a proper haircut, which is the way he cuts with his scissors. That is a skilled stylist using techniques and illusion to make you look like you have more hair than you have.
Interesting.
I would say more than just about the illusion. I would say it's about the psychological pivot. When do I stop trying to fix things, start managing properly? Because unfortunately, I'm not gonna fix everything cosmetically, but at least I'm able to manage it. And managing, our hair loss is very important. And you just walk us through the process. Finding a good hairstylist. A professional in image that will allow you to look a certain way in which, first of all, will look natural, because that's another thing. I saw a guy, and the sides were come to the back, and the hair was tilted to the front, and it looked so awful. I'm like, oh my God, I wanted to trim that hair right away, and do something with that, because unfortunately, a lot of hairstylists, they will do exactly what you will tell them to. And, because they're afraid to give you options. And sometimes they're afraid to give you options because sometimes they're not skilled enough to pull out something that will look natural on you. And this is where the science of this is where the science of hairstyling comes into play, because a lot of people, they need to know that not everyone is equipped to do their hair properly. And when you go to a hairstylist, you want to make sure that they are considering the shape of your face, that they're considering the type of hair that you have, the amount of hair that you have, and they're explaining that to you. Your skin color, what colors will go with you. Those are the type of things that's the type of things that you will expect to see from a professional hairstylist. That will go over those little details.
And those that are new to here, I want you to also know I am a master stylist, and Sergio is also a master barberist. So we're not just trichologists. We are trained behind the chair as well. So we see this all the time. So Yeah.
Definitely.
Sergio knows what he's talking about when it comes to cutting hair, too. He knows. He grew up around it.
It's been a family business, I will say, you know, but here's the thing, you know, you need to set, you know, a point and say, all right, this is enough. I need to take care of it. I need to treat it right and find professional help. And this is what it's all about here, the Hair Wire, guys, to give you the tips and to give you, you know, the keys, the golden nuggets of things that you will actually use to make your hair look better, to improve the quality of your hair, and to get you to a place where you at least you can manage your hair. I'm not saying that we're going to help you get all of your hair back. I mean, I wish I could do that for you. But even for I have family members, right? And they'd be like, well, I'm the family member of the trichologist. Well, why my hair has not come back fully? I'm like, well, unfortunately for you, this is as much as you can get. You're not going to get more hair than this, but at least if we manage it properly, you're going to look great, and you're going to feel better. Because at the end of the day, there's a psychological moment, you know, a point, a pivot, as we were mentioning, where, you know, this is my moment. I'm setting my foot down. All right, come to the piece, you know, that this is the hair that I have. I need to work with it. I need to accept it. And that is very important whenever we're dealing with hair loss. Anything you guys want to add? I mean, I want to go back to the winning, you know, Carrie, because it adds to this psychological moment, you know, is about recognizing our wins in the process. And I know you talked about it, but how hard it is for people to accept that they're actually winning by not losing any more hair.
Mic drop.
All right. Biz, anything you want to add to that?
Oh, I will add just in a way that we should count our blessings first before we count our misshapes.
Yeah.
Or our mistakes as well too. So if you have a hair, if you have a hair loss and you went to a trichologist and they stopped your hair loss, that's a huge win. That's a huge big. And not every trichologist actually can do that. Not every dermatologist can do that. Certainly not every hair transplant surgeon can do that. So whenever you have a win, and also life is like the universe is listening. So be grateful for what you have, so the universe will bring it back together. Will bring more to you, because we are energy, right? So if you are putting all these negative energies and negative thoughts out in the world, it's going to come back to you. Your trichologist can do much, right? So you have to work with your trichologist, and also you have to believe in your trichologist. That's very important. It's because hair loss is psychological, right? If you don't trust your trichologist, if you keep doubting them every step of the way, it's going to be exhausting for you, very stressful for you, and very stressful and exhausting for your trichologist. So you have to have faith in each other. That's why the first consultation is important. If we don't have faith, we're not going to work together properly. It is psychological, it's internal, it's external, it's everything together.
Definitely, guys. Hey, stay tuned. Subscribe for our webinar next week with Bisan. If you haven't already, this is the time. Visit thehairwire.com, and subscribe for our webinar with Bisan. Biz, what's the subject? What are we talking about in this webinar?
Oh, we are talking about bioenergetics. I know. I woke up this morning and I said, I'm going to talk about that. It's about, so we always talk about internal protocols, right? We talk about the importance of diet and supplementations, targeted supplementations, importance of lifestyle, and all of that. We know that. We as trichologists and all our subscribers, we talk about that a lot. I just wanted to take 1 hour of our webinar to explain why that's important. Because Okay, I want to understand this. I want to understand the follicle, the hair follicle at the cellular level. I want to understand the mitochondrial function, the ATP, how our hair follicle is utilizing these nutrients, transforming it to energy to bring us to the anagen phase, which is the growth phase. Because if you as a client or you as a trichologist really don't understand the cellular level, like the energy and the nutrients at the cellular level, when your client comes to you and say, well, my internal protocol is not that good, you will have the tools and the knowledge and the information to explain it to your client why you put them on this internal protocol. Like a deeper level than, I'm going to change your diet because you need to be healthy. It's just a deeper level, like a much deeper level. So you as a trichologist understand, and you as a hair loss a client to understand, so you can be motivated to do what you need to do in terms of your internal protocol.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you mentioned something very important. You talk about motivations. Our motivations drives us, and we look ourselves in the mirror. We don't like what we see, of course.
Yeah.
But so what can you do? A lot of people, unfortunately, they get frustrated and they just go to a downwards spiral, into depression. Others, they just be like, I got to do something about it. So snap out of it, kids, and move on. Let's do something about our hair. And you'll be like, well, sir, you still have good hair. Well, it hasn't been like that for many years. So it has been a work in progress for me. All right. Yeah. And besides understanding hair loss, she has experienced it herself. And Carrie has understand that herself.
I lost half of my hair at one point.
I lost lots of hair too. Came out in the shower. It was like a horror movie. Yeah,
exactly.
We understand hair loss because we have suffered, and we have been maybe lucky enough to be trichologists and work on ourselves. For me particularly, I was lucky enough to have my father as a trichologist because I started losing my hair when I was 16 years old. So I'm lucky to have my father to help me, help me keep my hair, but it's not for everyone. Unfortunately, not everyone has been that lucky. So if this is your moment and you're starting right now, this is it. You have to, pull it together and say, hey, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to call the hair wire. I'm going to contact a surgeon. I'm going to contact Bisan. I'm going to contact Carrie. I'm going to get our online consultation if they're too far from me. And I'm going to deal with my hair loss. I'm going to start doing it right now. I'm going to trust in the system. I'm going to trust in this group of people because they understand and they know what they're talking about. So do what you can for your hair and don't miss this opportunity. Do something about it. All right? We love you. This is a good new year. This is a good new year. All right? This is a moment for you to start working on your hair and, stop feeling pity on yourself and on your hair, and let's move on. Let's do something about it. How about that?
Sergio's back.
Empowerment.
Sergio's back.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. So we thank you guys for tuning in. And again, anything you guys want to add before we leave?
After what you just said, it's perfect.
All right, then we go. Guys, we love you. We'll see you next time. Till then, God bless you all. Bye-bye.